presentations that I have here, and we'll take it from there. Okay. Right, so a quick introduction about myself and what my technical background is on, and what we will be learning about the DevOps domain. Okay, so myself Naveen Reddy, and I would be the presenter for this session, and I would be trainer and during training periods, and so welcome to all again. So this is my small presentation about my diverse background, where I worked, and how we're moving, how I'm moving into the DevOps later. So I have diverse experience on operating systems, storage, programming, configuration management tool, and developing web APIs, and kind of focusing myself into developing full stack developer, and that is an extra skill set. But right now, and I have a strong background on networking, routing, DNS, DHCP, PXE. So this is where all my complete technical exposure helps me to be a better technocrat in DevOps field. So as I'm also a MySQL database, having experience on MySQL database. So that is one number. So you have a diverse background. So that is my technical profession background, and I have experience with AWS cloud also. And this is a diverse. I think I need to put some more data. This is a diverse background that I have. And I have around 11 plus years of experience, and I've been right now working and also practicing DevOps as a profession during my off hours also. And I do work on some of the freelance projects, open source projects, which involves in Python programming and also on a DevOps field. Okay, so this is about myself, and hang on a second, I just lost my power. I'll just be back in a minute, guys. Okay, I'm back. So it's Bangalore, and in the weekends means it's a period where this BESCOM will do major repair works, and that's the flip-flop the power sometimes. Okay, so this is about my background. I have a good exposure on web servers, developing front-end applications, integrating with the programming layer, and also integrating with your databases. So this is what I have in my technical background, and I also have written some Puppet modules, and have good experience on Docker, and right now working on Docker Kubernetes. It's a kind of orchestration tool. So this is about myself. Just hang on a second. Okay, right. So now coming into what is DevOps. Many people have different ideas. You would have a lot of thoughts. You would have a lot of experiences. Like me, you would also have some experience on your, in your background, and you would have your own experiences in terms of technology and also with the work related. But to people who are actually joined this session to understand what exactly DevOps means, it's a life cycle maintenance. Earlier you would have seen how development life cycle comes, design, development, testing, and then deployment. So it's a software development life cycle. So that is to take phases, and developers will sit, design, develop a roadmap. They finish a code, give it to testing, they'll test it, and then give them back the results. So it's a sequential execution of getting a product live into the market. Okay, now that was delaying major companies to launch their products quickly. So that is a major constraint here. And what exactly happens because of a delay? Your competitors will get an edge and they will roll better products and they will be in the limelight, and they might take a chunk of your customer base. So companies want to deliver their products in a fast way so that there is a concurrent way of development, testing, deployment, testing, release, and then go live in the production. So how we maintain these life cycle, how we coordinate with teams, what tools and technologies are available so that we make our lives easy. And once it is streamlined, you just follow the process. Okay, so that is how it goes. You don't have to do everything from scratch all the time. So many of you know that build phase is where your the software development comes into picture, and then where you involve the build team to do a software build, which gives you a package, a software end product. It's a jar file, it's an MSF file, it's an exe file. It depends on the platform, but it gives you a final output, final outcome. It's a build. Now that build is going to be tested, and if it's fine, it will go into the release cycle, into deployment stage, where you can deploy it into your live servers, which would be in a production environment where your applications will be serving your customers. Now, how all these things will happen in real time, and how you can do your jobs easily in such scenarios is what we're going to learn. So in order to help us here, we have chosen one configuration management tool, which is Puppet. We have chosen one build tool, which is a CI/CD tool, Jenkins, and we especially focus on Maven builds. And third one is a Docker microservice software. Now the idea behind this is very simple. Now you all know that you can deploy your applications onto servers, but how can you deploy your application plus server put together in a single instance? So that is where your Docker comes into picture. So you mix your operating system, you mix your hardware, you mix your application into one particular image and then deploy it. So that is what Docker will be helping us in real-time scenarios. So we have chosen one configuration management tool called Puppet. I just said that. We have chosen one CI/CD tool, which is Jenkins. And third, we have chosen one microservices software virtualization product called Docker, which is creating a big impact in the IT industry. And we also are going to learn about Docker Kubernetes. It's an orchestration tool which which is heavily used now, which is getting more popular day by day. And it was released in early 2015 July, the first version 1.0 of Docker Kubernetes, and we have the next release in October 2016, 1.4 something, which is a stable version again. This Docker Kubernetes is released from Google and they made it open source, so it's available to us all, and we will be spending more time on Docker Kubernetes as well, okay, along with Docker. Okay, so DevOps demand and industry requirement. As a person in the same field, there is a lot of demand, a lot of opportunities if you have the right skill set, and you should hit the ground at the right time with those skill set. Then you will be definitely getting into good positions. And it's not only in India or US, it's across the globe. There is a very good demand for DevOps professionals who have experience with on these diverse technologies. Right. So, and coming to skills expected out of DevOps engineers, I just mentioned that, and there is no end to it actually. So if you would be very honest, there is no end. Whatever the tools that I have mentioned are the broad tools, but internally, when it comes to in companies, they use some more tools which are customized for their environments. But overall, if you have a good idea about, good understanding about these technologies, then you are going to get a very good opportunity to work in such companies. Configuration management tool, and okay, so this is the next point. Configuration management tool. We just had a discussion. What is configuration management tool, which we will learn here. So it is Puppet, and Puppet. Why Puppet, and what are the competitors available in the market? Again, okay. So there are good competition right now in the market along with Puppet, which is giving is Ansible and Chef. But why Puppet? Why not Ansible? That is a good question where many people will ask. So to be honest with you, Puppet from version 4.0. It handles large-scale environments very easily, and it has a robust performance. When it comes to high latency traffic, that means when you have large volumes, many thousands of agents that connects to your Puppet server, then when you have thousands of servers which you want to bring under configuration management control, then Puppet is the obvious choice, which give you ample performance when compared with Ansible. That is the only reason. Otherwise, Ansible and Puppet more or less are doing a great job in the market. And big companies, when they want to bring thousands of servers into one particular configuration management tool, then Puppet wins over Ansible at that area. Okay. And Puppet, you have Enterprise edition, which is available from Puppet Labs, and you can take support, you can raise open cases with them, you can take help from them, and that concept is not there in Ansible. Other configuration management tools and their market share. To be honest, Puppet controls the largest share, and then followed by Chef and Jenkins at that layer. And when it comes to small deployments, group of servers to manage, then Ansible plays a role. That's where Ansible is getting popular. You want to manage 100 servers, you want to manage 20 servers. My application has 20 servers. I just want to manage it from my perspective. I just need Ansible. That's fine. But when you talk about an enterprise level company where you have a standard tool where everyone should be onboarded into that tool, and I have 20 servers, these 20 servers should be managed by a Puppet server which also manages 1,000 more servers, or maybe 5,000 more servers. So in that area, Puppet plays a very bigger role, and it has a lot of flexibilities which we will discuss. And who uses Puppet? DevOps engineers and automation teams, and predominantly they use Puppet as a configuration management tool. And some of the advantages are rich level of Puppet validated and supported modules, and continuous improvement in terms of modules getting deployed in Puppet source code. The meaning of it is, I'll just show you. I am not sure how well are you familiar with Puppet, but I'll take you, assuming that you are not familiar. Okay, so in puppet.com, if you go to Forge, this is a place where you can see all the modules that are available. Puppet has agents that are spanning from your network devices, routers and switches to servers. It has agents for your NetApp storage, it has agents for your MySQL database, it has agents for your Oracle, it has agents for your Hadoop modules. So all these are pretty much available, and if you see the screen, and you can search from around 4,744 handwritten modules readily available for you to deploy. Okay, if you want to deploy a Puppet supported modules, you can go here. You will get a broad view of all these modules. There is a module for your PowerShell, a module for your Apache web server, a module for your PostgreSQL, a module for MySQL. You don't have to really, download, install MySQL, customize. You can do pretty much everything, and you know what? you can plan your upgrades, you can plan your updates. You can make sure that your configuration of your database configuration is protected from any changes from Puppet server. You can just go through. There are lots and lots of agents and modules. These are all modules. I'll take you through the agents also. And recently you have Puppet Labs NetApp module, which was recently launched to bring enterprise NetApp storages also under Puppet control. Okay, so this has been a recent launch, and if you see, it's released in December 14, 2016. And there are modules to maintain or manage your Puppet Lab into AWS infrastructure. Again, this one, and you take anything. There are third-party modules, but if you can see, there some of the modules are approved. Right, you just have to go and explore. This is a Puppet source code. You have a rich and diverse repository where you can look for modules that is required for you, and you can see how many downloads and ratings. Based on that, you can take a call. There are modules which you can filter. Like if I want to see all the modules that are for my Red Hat operating system running managed on Puppet version 4 and released from 2016. And so I'm approved is okay. If you can see, Puppet version, yeah, Red Hat Puppet version, any that should be good. .7. That is approved. Let us see what are supported. So you can filter based on these filters, and you can see what modules are available and see if it matches any criteria. If you are not that sure, then you can actually go to Puppet Forge and look for these modules. And suppose if you want to look into say MySQL database, you can just simply click it, and you can see the compatibility. It is compatible for Puppet versions which are released, say going back to Puppet version 3.1 to latest Puppet version 4.3 that is released in 2016 April. Okay, so Puppet version above 3 and less than 5, and it is compatible with Red Hat 5, 6, 7, SLES 11 and 12, CentOS 567, Oracle Linux 567. So these are the compatibilities that this module has. You can go through the documentation part, how you can make use of this module and what are the resource types that this module will come with. So this is a picture of it, and dependencies, what this module is dependent on. It is dependent on these two modules. And licenses, it is an Apache license 2.0, that means it's free for all, and you can download these modules and start working with start deploying it in your organization. Now this is a Puppet source code. So I'm just showing you this because I just wanted to take you through the rich available modules that are present on Puppet Forge, and also you can also look into not only Puppet supported but open source. A lot of people write modules, and you can see the amount of hits. There are some modules which have more hits than Puppet written modules. I can show you that also. If you select a Docker module, so this guy's module has more hits than Puppet Labs written official Docker platform. Okay, so this is another great example how open source contributors are giving more valuable modules than Puppet can provide. It does not undermine that Puppet is not doing its job, but Puppet is a small organization and they really depend contributions from the open source community. And these kind of people, they actually submit very good modules which Puppet reviews and approves it. Okay, so it's an approved module. That means you have Puppet stamp on this module. And we exactly have this module installed on a Puppet lab environment, which I'm going to take you through shortly. And that is what I was trying to talk about. Rich level of Puppet validated and supported modules. Continuous improvement. So once you have downloaded that module, so people, if they find any bugs, you can file it with Puppet and they are going to work and release new versions and you can download those versions. Who can learn? Audience who can benefit this course is people who wants to aspire to go into DevOps profession and who want to have hands-on experience working with configuration management tools. So as part of our training, we will also be writing some industry norm modules, and we will see how we can scale up on that. Okay, so it's not just the theory that we will do in the trainings, but we will be writing a real-time modules as well. Okay, learning prerequisites, and pretty much there is no programming that background is needed for Puppet. From Puppet 4.0, it has greatly reduced its dependence on Ruby, because Puppet initially was written in Ruby language and they rewritten from Puppet 4 in Java and then released a Puppet server. So it is much faster when it comes when it compared with Ruby written Puppet server. And it has greatly reduced the dependency in terms of writing code in Ruby. I will talk about that in your trainings. And this is a high-level course content, but I'm not going to take you and explain this right now. What we are going to do is we are going to do a quick demo on our Puppet infrastructure and see what are the various things that are available in Puppet and what exactly we will be doing and learning, so that it gives you a feel of what we will be learning in our program. Okay, and so this is a course content which you would find in from Subin IT website. Let me take you through my lab environment first. Okay, so this is my lab environment. I have a Kubernetes infrastructure separately with 4 virtual machines. My master is here, and at the same time I have my Puppet, Docker, and Jenkins infrastructure in a separate group. Okay, so let me power on them. I believe some of them are already powered, and let me power Jenkins also, so that means we'll have all the servers running available to you. So this is my Puppet server, and another tab, let me connect to OL4. This is my Puppet agent. Okay, so it's one of the agents. There are various things that you can do on your Puppet infrastructure. Okay, so Puppet infrastructure always work with server agent configuration. You have a Puppet server and you have agents, thousands of agents. Okay, so these agents will have to communicate to the Puppet server for the first time. Every time whenever a Puppet deployment happens, it's always the agent that has to initiate the communication, right? And the same way all the agents will come together and connect to the Puppet server and say, hey, deploy all the modules to me. Okay, so this Puppet server will take all those requests and it will compile a catalog. You know what is a catalog? You go to a grocery store, he will give you a catalog. You go to a say construction company, he will give a catalog of all his projects. So it means options all there available. Now what happens is this Puppet server will compile a catalog. You have agent 1, it can be Windows, Unix, AX, Solaris, whatever it can be, and you have agent 100. This is a Windows, this is Red Hat, this is say AX. My Puppet server doesn't behave differently with these agents. It behaves the same way. It treats all these platforms the same way. When these agents come together, when E1 comes first time and connects to the Puppet server will compile a catalog and it will transfer that to E1. And that catalog will contain the exact information of what should be deployed on E1. And the same way, when E2 comes and connect to Puppet server will compile a catalog and it will be sending it back to E2. And E2, the Puppet agent on the A2 will apply that catalog. And the same is the case with all these agents. But the point here is, that point I would like to make here is, how can you write code in Puppet that is okay for all the operating systems? Example, you want to install a package called Nginx on, say, 3 different operating systems. How will you install on Windows? How will you install on Red Hat? How will you install on AX? The mechanisms are different. On AX, you will install using install pp. On Red Hat, use yum. And Windows, use different one. Okay. And but should I have to write 3 different modules then? So this is for Windows, this is for Red Hat, this is for AX. No, you don't have to write. You can write the same module, but Puppet allows you to intelligently choose the mechanisms that will be needed to install a particular software on a Windows, and Puppet intelligently chooses the mechanism that it needs to install the package on Red Hat and on an AX machine. So that mechanism is present in Puppet through Hiera. So this is an overview, high-level overview, and also in this demo we will also see how we actually go and deploy a Docker environment from Puppet. How we can mix Puppet plus Docker into a single, logic where your Puppet controls your Docker environment. So that is what we are going to learn in this demo class, and we will see bits and pieces of the broader section of Puppet, and let us understand that. Now, this is my agent. How would I know this is my agent? So any Puppet agent you can find out by verifying a Puppet agent software is present or not. In the same case, my Puppet server will have a lot more packages than an agent. An agent will also be there, but it will have a Puppet server, your Puppet DB, or Puppet Enterprise, and it installs a lot of components. Okay, all those things we will see. First thing, how will an agent identify itself? Is it by hostname, or is it by its IP address? There's a lot of interfaces which you will be surprising to see, but those are Docker interfaces. You will learn them after some time. Is it through interfaces? Is it through IP addresses? So what is the identifier for an agent to actually go and talk to the Puppet server? The identifier can be any of these things, but important one is your hostname. So the identity of your agent will be conveyed to the Puppet server using a tool called Factor. If you run Factor, it gathers a lot of important data about your agent. Whenever you install an agent, a Factor software also installs on your system. But basically, it gathers every pinch of information about your system. What kind of system is it? A physical server? Is it a virtual server? How much memory is there? How many CPUs are there? What is the installed Ruby version? What is the installed Puppet version? If it's a Linux system, what are the different file systems? What are the space usage? How much space is there? What are the mount options? Okay, how many CPUs are there? What are the CPU architecture? How much swap is configured? What is the interface? How many interfaces are there? What are the relevant IP addresses? All this information will be collected by this particular tool. This tool earlier was written in Ruby, but from Puppet 4 it is written in C programming, in C language. Okay, so I'll cut that short. It's a long output, but very important output. So this data of your agent is actually the deciding factor on how the Puppet server will respond to you. Any agent, when it comes to Puppet, should have a factor binary, and it also figures out your installed SSH keys on your system, install Ruby versions, what is the paths that are currently active on your system, how many CPUs are there, how much memory is there, what are the different mount points. All this story is present. So this is beautiful information that one can extract from any given agent. Okay, guys, I will give you separate time for question and answers. You can engage me with whatever questions you have. I'll answer one by one. If you have any questions, you can keep posting those questions in the question panel. I will take it up one by one and I will answer you. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation, I will give time. You can have a one-on-one conversation at the end. You can just let me know. I will unmute you and we can have a conversation. So this is a complete information about your agent. So this is pretty much what your agent can extract. Now this information is what the Puppet server will need. It uses all that, every pinch of information. It can use every pinch of information, and based on that it can take a decision on what you should be getting. Okay, so this Puppet server is very smart and it has a lot of features, and we are going to study all of them. So if you see, these are the processes that are running. These are the important processes. You have an active MQ, which is a middleware component which we will use. We have an Nginx web server, that's a front-end application, which will be served by this web server. PostgreSQL is a database that Puppet by default uses, and we have an interface on top of that database to give us a relevant data, which is called Puppet DB. And finally, you have Puppet server service itself, which is the server which actually listens on for Puppet agents to come and respond to it, talk to it. These are the valid services. So the next important one is, where do we stage all our modules? So you all know that we write modules, Puppet modules, and then we deploy it. And if you have 1,000 servers, how will you manage them? Should you put all the 1,000 servers required modules in one place? No, we group those 1,000 servers based on the usage and various other properties, and we basically, every agent will be kind of rounded up to one particular configuration, which is called environment. So you put that into a single environment. It can be your QA Apache server or QA database server, or it can be your prod database server or prod web server, or it can be your QA middleware server, or it can be your QA Docker environment. So it can be anything. You have to define an environment and you group your servers into that environment. So for every group, your Puppet server will have an environment directory. Right now I'm maintaining two different groups. One is a production group and another one is a development group. I can say environment. Now in my production environment, I have modules that are written for this entire environment. That means these modules are available to be used by my production environment. But not that all the servers in the production environment will get all these modules. No, these modules are cataloged. That means they are staged here, and now I have to decide what servers should be given what modules. So that part we will be doing that. manifest layer, and we will see by telling this node Jenkins will be getting this particular module. Node OL4 is allowed to get these modules. Oracle user, VSFTP software module, ETL module, DC2, which is a Docker container. So in this way, you deploy your environments from your Puppet server. So in this case, I used a include statement and also class statement. The difference is include statement, you just define the module name, whereas a class, you can also send parameter values to the modules. What exactly happens? I assume that, this is my OL4 server. So if you see there are no Docker, okay, there are some Docker agents running. Okay, let me just do one thing. They're all up and running. Let me destroy them. Okay, but I have actually deployed that mod intentionally to node OL4. This node is that only. Okay, and I'm deploying a Docker 2 version. So basically that deployment will come now. Now I have deployed, there are no Docker containers running. Now just create a quick deployment. Now we are going to deploy Docker containers into a server without doing anything on that server. See how the deployment happens here. It automatically figured out that this server is part of a production environment, and it is caching a catalog, and it has created my Docker environment, and my Docker containers are now running. Let me do that again for you. I can delete it as many times as possible. So if anyone is doing that, the next Puppet deploy, the next Puppet run that happens, you can configure the Puppet agent to, go and talk to the server every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And every time it talks, if it finds any change in the configuration, then it will override it with what is defined in the Puppet server. So I have already deleted it here, deleted those containers. Now my next Puppet run happened, and see if so those containers are including with all the settings, with all the images, with the proper port mappings and proper names. This is how we maintain a deployment, and this container is a WordPress application. Okay, see, we deployed an application on a database. This is MariaDB, which is a flavor of MySQL database, and it is opened on port 3306. That's a known port for MySQL database. And this is a WordPress application which serves on web server that connects on port 80. Right, so this is how we deploy. And one more important question. Now, suddenly I want to move this server into a different environment. I don't want this in production. So what I can do in my production environment, I can just simply say that I don't want to give this module, right? So I'm stopping all my containers. My containers are destroyed. Now please see what happens in the next Puppet run. Nothing happens. You see containers are no containers. So you can simply negate that you don't want to give anything to that server. You can control everything from your Puppet server. Now that control is allowed to you by Puppet. Okay, and you can quickly choose what you want to give. So I want to move the server into development. I don't know what modules are there, but let me see. I think there is already a module that is present. It's a VSFTPD configuring a secured FTP server. So let me see if that is present by default on my server. Yeah, it is present. So let me delete it. It is not there. Now I want to deploy the modules that are made available to me to the server on a development environment. So I can choose the environment. and fetch that module to me. Now, when you do that, it fetches that module to me. So you will see that here. So this module called whatever we provision site.pp, bsftpd, it involves doing a m install, and in order to do that, it will actually sync the repo. That might take some time. That is why it is in the wait state, but in the background it is running. I can show you that. We can do a quick, right? See, the background it is trying to install vsftpd, but what happens when it tries to, yeah, so this is finished. See, as we speak, this it has finished, and it has also started the service which was earlier stopped into running state. So, and how fastly we can do a deployment, setting up an FTP, secure FTP server environment. From a Docker container environment, we quickly decided that we want to do a different story, and then we have done it on Puppet server, and that environment is deployed. See, that module can be used for any of your servers in your environment. You don't have to type the commands manually each time, every time you want to do some stuff. All you do is create modules for it, stage it in the required environments, tell your agent to get, to connect to that environment. And on the Puppet server, you tell, hey, give this guy these modules, and you can put a sequence number that this module should be applied first, and then the next module, and then the next module. So that is how your Puppet does the job. And finally, we had a conversation on Puppet, how Puppet identifies that this server should have, for package installation, it depends on, say in Red Hat, it depends on yum. In AX, it depends on something else. So that is some concept which is decided, defined, kind of solve using a tool called Hiera. We also do we also work on Hiera a lot, and we will be showing that also. I have to take you to that model. Okay, and Hiera. Yeah. So we are not telling provider that, in Red Hat systems you should put M. This module, basically what we have seen here, the module called vsftpd pkg on my production environment, we used Hiera extensively, and this Hiera actually is a data lookup tool. See here, the package name, we have not mentioned what is the package name. We are telling that Hiera, please decide the FTP package name. Now the reason is simple. On an Red Hat system, the package name for FTP is vsftpd. On an Ubuntu server, it is FTPD, and on Windows server, it would be different. So the package name varies according to your operating system. So instead of writing 3 different modules, we are telling Hiera, hey, please decide what is the package name, and how the decision will be made when the agent comes, and when the agent gets this specific module. Based on the agent's operating system, Hiera will decide what is the package name. Where it will decide? It will go into a place called an environment. There is a Hiera data, and you have various ML files. So for Red Hat, if you see, for Red Hat, the FTP package name is vsftpd, and the package provider is yum. Whereas for Debian, the package name is secure FTPD, and the provider is APT. So you install package using APT in Ubuntu flavored systems, not using yum. So we keep that data here. So Hiera will look into these files. And Hiera, there is an important configuration file. This is an important configuration file. It will tell Hiera what it should look into by following a hierarchy. So it looks for all the backend files as ML files, and it will look according to the hierarchy. The first one would be files that are starting with the family name, OS family name. Any agent, if you do factor OS family, it will tell what is the OS family. If it is Red Hat, then it would be the same on Red Hat, CentOS, Oracle Linux, Scientific Linux. If it is Debian, it would be the same on your Debian and Ubuntu. If it is Windows, then it would be the same on your Windows 2007, 2010. Now, based on the agent versions, please remember factor will be installed on your Windows, it will be installed on your Ubuntu, and it will be installed on your Red Hat also. Based on your agent OS version, it will tell that, hey, please look into that OS family ML files. So if the agent is Red Hat family system, then it will first look into redhat.ml. If the agent is an Ubuntu, then it will look into debian.ml. If the agent is Windows, then it will look into windows.ml. And what if that is not there here? Then you please look into OS family as a directory followed by the network. Okay, so if you go into the Hiera data, you don't have anything here, but let me see if there is something in Debian. It is not there. So you have to create your ML files here according to network. Maybe you can create specific ML files based on the subnet, and then you send data from here. So that is about Hiera. And finally, we will also be learning about mCollective, which is an orchestration tool. On your Puppet server, you don't know how many agents are there. How will you come to know how many agents are there which are currently live? You can do a ping. It talks to all the agents that are connected to the Puppet server, and it will give you a report back. MCO Puppet status. It also tells you what is the status of your Puppet agent on each of the servers that are connected to the Puppet server. Right now, only 2 servers are there, OL4 and Puppet, which are up. And you can add them as you grow, and you will get the agents accordingly. Okay, and finally, you can also do a lot of interesting jobs here. You can find, I'll just show you something. You have deployed or you have installed modules on say 100 servers, and you want to find out in real time that this particular module is installed on which servers. Okay, so that is what we run into some situations, and I've given some MCO find with hyphen class. So you want to find out all the servers where a module by name Apache is installed. It is installed on both Puppet and OL4. There is a module called DC2. Let me see where it is installed. It is also installed on both. Okay, so this is how you can find out if a particular module is installed on a given node or not. And you can also send some interesting commands are there. I can talk about them in detail, but you will have MCO service. You want to see how many servers HTTPD is deployed. It is deployed on both OL4. Okay, OL4 it is stopped. You want to see the status. HTTPD it is stopped. You want to see the status of VSFTPD. Yes, because we just deployed it on OL4. Okay, on OL4 it is running. On Puppet it is stopped. So you can also find a lot of information on which servers your Puppet I don't know whether it is Puppet agent or Puppet hyphen agent, okay, but it is stopped. So that means that is not the right way. That should be okay. puppet.service. It is running, okay. So your Puppet agent is running on both the teams. From here also you can do a lot of stuff. So Puppet MCO Puppet run once. That means you can run a Puppet deployment on all the nodes. You don't have to log into a Puppet each of the agents. You can run from a Puppet server. Now see, it has done a deployment on both the two hosts at once. Okay, so this is how you can deploy, and at the same time, if you want to deploy only on a particular node, you can give factor variables and then do a deployment. So it processes on the two hosts. The reason is it actually checks the two nodes at the same time, but you can do customization. Run once -f with fact is equal to, that should be okay. Okay, and also you can disable a Puppet agent on a given node. That also you can do all the options. So this is a kind of system orchestration tool which you use to control all the agents that are connected to my Puppet server. And so it's a kind of master process which looks into each aspect of how your Puppet server is doing or managing deploying modules and what agents are installed with what modules. So you can track all these pieces of information from MCO. It's also called as M collective or Marinate collective. So this is how we go up, and also we also have a Puppet dashboard which includes a GUI session. Okay, so this is my Puppet GUI session. This is the default Puppet provided web console. You can find out all the nodes that are connected to it. So whatever we have done from the command line, you can do all that, or you can see all the data. You can get all the information from your Puppet web console. Okay, so let me so this is, so it talks about all the nodes that are presently current, and it also talks about the configuration. That means how the deployments are happening. So there's a failure here. A tick mark with a green color means a deployment was successful. A blue color means some resources were changed, but not a complete deployment happened. And if you are seeing a red color, you can assume the deployment failure. You can select that report and you will get a lot of interesting data. Why a particular deployment has failed and what are the reasons. See, unable to fetch my node definition, but the agent will continue. So these are important information to go and debug why a particular deployment has failed. In olden days, like say in past years, people used to do deployments by the release tools like Jenkins, some more tools in the market. But now people are using Puppet itself as a configuration management tool to do the deployments. You don't really require Jenkins to do a deployment, because Puppet can do a lot of other stuff which Jenkins cannot do. When it comes about deployments, not talking about the build, but talking about the deployments. So this is how you can visualize about your Puppet server and things that will shape up in our training class. This is an overview, but in the class we will go a little deep and come with a lot more valuable information and uh, writing down modules. With this, the Puppet part I just concluded, and what I will do is I'll take you through the next slide. As part of the Puppet training, we also work with version controlling, which you use in real time. We really use Git, and we will be doing hands-on on Git, and we will be using GitHub as our hosting repository, and we will see all the operations of branches, merging, push, pull, uh, uh, cloning, all the kinds of issues, and we'll look into the security aspects of Git, how to enforce security mechanism, and that is where your real knowledge will come in. So that is covered as part of your hooks. So I don't know how many of you are aware, but there is a concept in Git which is called hooks, which is used really to do a lot more smart work than just to do a Git push or Git merge. So that is what we will learn. And afterwards, we will be entering into a domain of Docker. Docker is really interesting, and it actually is very, very powerful when it comes to the ease in which you can deploy an environment. Now, some of the interesting part is why Docker when you have virtual machines or even AWS cloud is there, why really into containers. So you want to use an AWS instance, so you need to really go to AWS, buy a account and pay, do the billing, right? So it's not free that they are giving you free of cost. But what Docker is going to do is serve you a recipe which is free of cost, and then you have to cook it according to your taste, and that is where your skill set will be looked upon into. So this is a picture, a traditional picture drawing comparison between a virtual machine, a VMware, or a hypervisor virtual machine with your container. And to be honest, this virtual machine concept can also be say kind of, you can compare it with your AWS infrastructure, because AWS infrastructure also uses a similar concept. It uses Xen virtualization, and somewhere it fits closer to this picture which is on the left hand side. You have a base hardware as an infrastructure. The first layer, if you see, I'm talking about the virtual machines, which is on the left hand side of the presentation. If you're seeing there, you see the gray color, the dark gray color, which really talks about the CPU, the memory, the network, every aspect. And on top of that, you have a layer where the operating system runs along with your hypervisor. So those are two additional layers, on top of which you actually create virtual CPUs and memory and create a kind of a virtualized containers where you install an operating system, on top of which you install an application. Now, if that application wants to actually do certain work, like execute a particular piece of code, it actually has to consume your hardware resources. And if you go and compare the layers that are layer of the abstraction layers, right? How many layers are present when your application wants to talk to the hardware resource? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so it really is a big layer, and that's where virtual machines are pretty slow when it comes to comparison with hardware physical servers. Even though virtual machines support large volumes of CPU or memory, promise you that it is capable of serving you 10 Gbps, it really is not as fast as your physical host, because the layer of abstraction which your application relies on when it comes to utilizing your hardware resources is a big layer. On the contrary, right, how would your Docker fare comparatively? right? So let me, so this is your hardware. This is both the same for both of them. Your CPU, memory, network cards, every pinch of hardware, your rate controller cards, everything. On top of which you can install any operating system. The good thing here is your operating system can be anything. It can be Ubuntu, it can be Red Hat, it can be your Mac, it can be your Windows, anything. Top of which you install a Docker engine. This runs as a process. You can see that. Now when you install this Docker engine, it is capable of running your containers. Now please see, there is no OS component here. It does not mean that there is no OS. Your app is your OS plus your application. Okay, your application, so that means this can be a Red Hat image or Red Hat container. This can be a Ubuntu container. This can be a SUSE operating system or Oracle Linux. So 3 different operating systems running on the same physical server without any guest operating systems. So this is a container, and this is again a process that my Docker engine manages, and you can allocate CPUs, memory to each of the container. Uh, 2 GB memory and 3 CPUs, 4 GB memory. So you can really decide all the aspects. You can also decide what networks you want to put this server in. And now this application, if it wants now to utilize the hardware resources, if you go the layer number of layers, this is layer 1. This is layer 1. This is your Docker engine. Now Docker engine doesn't need to talk to the kernel. It directly, works in par with kernel when it comes to managing your containers, individual containers. And so it directly uses all the drivers that are present in your operating system loaded to utilize the physical hardware resources, and it talks to them. So this is, drivers are in 3rd and this is 4th. So compared to 6 here, we have 4 layers of abstraction. And the beauty of it is you are packaging the OS and also your application as a single entity, which is your container. So that is what drives Docker in a better way, and you don't have to purchase expensive licenses. You don't have to purchase expensive support contracts to maintain your virtual environment. Your Docker container can do the job for free of cost. Now, having said that, there are certain limitations. Limitations are means like, you have a how can I say that, you have a I just want to draw a quick comparison. You have a kind of a luxury car, like take a Rolls Royce or something like that. You have a luxurious car, you name it, that feature will be present, but it is a 4-wheeler, that is agreed. And imagine comparing with your Ferrari in a Formula 1 race. The Ferrari doesn't have any of that luxuriness, but it does the job when it comes to racing performance. And if a Rolls-Royce competes in that league, then definitely Rolls-Royce gets lagged by a bigger margin, because the competition is between the same breed, but again the mechanism that drives that breed is different. And Docker is also the same, but the beauty of Docker is, this virtual machine is okay, this is okay, this is okay, but the beauty of Docker is there are thousands of applications that are readily available for you to launch and immediately start working. Similar to Puppet SourceForge, you have a Docker hub which handles a lot of these applications. This is my Docker hub account. You can also register your account. See, all the players in that business, you name it, they are present. Your Nginx, your Redis, your Busybox, Ubuntu, Registry, Alpine, MySQL, MongoDB, Elasticsearch, Swarm, PostgreSQL, Node.js, Apache, Logstash, your Debian, CentOS, WordPress, Kibana, Ruby, Python, Java, Jenkins, RabbitMQ, PHP. I don't know about Golang HA proxy, but your Docker, console, Tomcat application. So you want to deploy a Tomcat application. If Docker is not there, what will you do? Now the same job, what will you do if your Docker is present? So we are going to see that. Okay, your Maven, your Cassandra, your MariaDB, Fedora. Okay, so you just have to go one by one, and you will see a lot of existing companies that are already providing their applications free of cost. I'm saying free of cost. Oracle Linux, you take from 5 to 7.3, they have a Docker image. Now someone wants to learn Oracle Linux 7. They want to download an image of around 4.3 GB from an Oracle site. But if you want to work on Docker layer, it's much faster and much better. How can you work in that? Now this server is my Docker server. If you all can see my screen. Let me see if my host is powered on. This I wanted to power it off. That is okay. Okay, 192.168.104. Okay. Okay, so this is not that machine, OL4, right? So I have installed Docker engine. So we will see that 1.12 version. So you can see quickly here, my Docker server version is 1.12.6. Now, please remember, Docker from 1.12 is a different league when you compare with previous versions. A lot of differences, a lot of advancements, a lot of improved ways of managing your Docker containers, right? And it is now currently linked with this registry. So this is a registry which, if you copy this registry into your browser, so just copy please. Now in real time, your companies might have their own customized registries, but what is a registry? It's an API. That means Docker works on API calls, and I'll show you that. Right now it is registered to my Docker API. In real time, your companies will have their own Docker registries where they would have created their applications in a Dockerized format, ready to deployable format. Okay, so that would be different in different organizations. But this Docker registry is really configurable. That means you can change this registry and point to something else. Okay, so that can be done. When that can be done, I'll have to show you something. Now I want to work on Oracle Linux. I know that you would ask me what is my base server. It is Oracle Linux 7.3. So having said that, let me work on Oracle Linux. What version we should look into? 6. Let us see. 6. Yeah, Oracle Linux 6 version. So that I'm actually on an advanced version, and I don't have any kind of emojis. So let me do one thing. Let me delete all of this. RMA stands for remove, image. Okay, so that's you can forcefully remove them. Right, good. And if you see, I have a MySQL 5.6, CentOS layers, that means CentOS 7. I don't have Oracle Linux 6. Okay, so Docker full, I have to mention the organization name and the repository tag. Now, what happens is I get to download that image. Getting that image is equivalent to having your ISO ready for deployment. Image, it's an image, it's not a container. So there is a two points, important points. One is an image, one is a container. Image means the image that is readily made available to you. You can compare that to a template in your VMware or to an ISO image in real time. Okay, it's a template that you have it ready. You have, in olden days, if you remember, my graduation days, we used to have a Windows CDs. You can install it, but once after installing, you can configure it according to your, username, your process specifications. Okay, so that is different. Image is different. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to pull an image, a Docker image for Oracle Linux 6, and then we will be running a Oracle Linux 6 image as a container. See, right now I have a Docker Oracle Linux 6 image. Now, what is this image? You can always, so this is a high level overview, but we will be going deep in our classes. I can read my image and I can understand a lot of important information, including the ID tags, when it was created, the environment paths, the command directive, if it has any kind of compatibilities with Docker versions, and what architecture it uses, OS version, right? And finally the size and some more important components. So this is valuable information to me and to understand what this image actually does. Believe me, there are various images and you should understand how to read an image. Okay, and right now I have a Docker image. Now I can my Oracle Linux 6, I'm giving that name, and if you see, my image is running, and if you see, this image is now used to run a container with the ID this. So, okay, so you use an image to run a container. Once the container is run, that acts as an independent, it emulates a host. Okay, and if you do ps-ef grep -a docker, but don't get the grep. Right now Docker D is running. Along with that, there is a container that is running, and if you see the container ID that matches with the container that I started. Okay, so your container is nothing but a process on my server. Now your container is running here and it is up from 51 seconds. And the name that I have given is Oracle Linux 6. This is a container. Now how can I connect to it? Every container that runs will have a private IP. So someone asks you to tell the real difference between a Docker container and a virtual machine. So I have told you a lot of advantages about the Docker, but what the primary point here is Docker can never get a public IP, publicly exposable IP address. It will always, your all Docker containers will get a private IP address. Now there is a different mechanism how you should expose these containers to the network, okay, that we will be learning, but this is a private IP, and this IP is, the scope is local on my machine only. It doesn't have any scope beyond this virtual machine. All it can do is it can work only on this machine. Now this is how I can read about a container. There is a lot more. How if you want to read about a container, you can use a Docker inspect pipe more, and you can read a lot more data. Okay, lot of options. So starting from DNS to volumes that you can share, to understand the CPU resources, memory resources that are allocated, restrictions, the mount points that we have shared, the command directives, what is the environment that you have set, what is the image that it used, and finally the network part. A lot of interesting information, including the MAC address. You will get all the points. Okay, including the container's IP address. Now you have a Docker container really, and how can you connect? So you can blindly attach to a container, but that is not a recommended way. But I have to show you that you can attach to a container. And if you see 6.8. Okay, so I'm running Oracle Linux 6.8 on top of my Oracle Linux 7.3 machine, and that is possible because of Docker and how fast I was able to run a Docker container 6.8. I didn't go for looking for downloading an ISO image of Oracle Linux 6 and thinking how can I run it. Okay, so I was able to download the image, get it, and then run it. I can do all my testing now here. The same is the case with even Ubuntu machine. Okay, so the moment you exit, because you use a Docker connect attached, right? So the moment you exit, your container will die. So there is a different way to connect to such containers. You can start it. Okay, so the proper way is you launch another shell. And you connect to that container, well and good. And now even if you exit, that container doesn't exit, it runs. So we will also be learning a lot of commands, manual commands. So the reason is simple. If you want to learn the technology, you should learn about each and every aspect of how to manage a Docker container. Okay, then only you should really think about going into Docker Kubernetes. And one more interesting point here is, I think you have seen my images that I use Oracle Linux 6, CentOS, and latest, fine, good. And I've also shown you how to connect to a container, and really how do we create customized images for ourselves. So that is possible from your Docker files. Now this is a Docker file. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to use CentOS latest version as my image and then build an Apache web server on top of it, and I am also sending a HTML code. So suppose someone is trying to connect to that web server, what should be actually the first display? Okay. Now please remember, this Docker file is used to create a new image. Okay, I'm going to create a new image, so that you have to remember docker build -t CentOS Apache. Now it will take the base image and then add layers of, on top of that application. It adds layers. It includes shell commands, software deployments, configuring customized files, pushing HTML code into specific directory location. So all that story will now, you can see that, and the final end product is a ready-made image that is available to us, and that image name would be CentOS, and the tag name would be Apache. So that would be the image name. Okay, so just hold on for a second. It will take quite a little bit while, but we should see all the phases of how a build really happens, where you can go and build your own Docker image. Okay, so what I'm doing is, before I install Apache, I'm trying to do a patching on top of my CentOS latest image. That means I'm going to fix all the bugs that are filed, and a security fix is released for that version. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to do, and you will see all that things happening now. Okay, so just wait for some time. It is just trying to load the cache for those repositories. Okay, but it will happen at any time. Yep. So it initially contacted IIT Madras FTP server and then load content, but it didn't connect there, so it looked for some other web server hosting that repository, and it is trying to download all the patches onto my CentOS latest image. Okay. It is looking for downloading those packages, and it didn't get response from this repo, and so it is looking for another mirror. So this is all happening to build a new image for you. Okay, and you are also creating directories on top of that image, putting your HTML code, exposing certain ports. This is how you actually bring your containers, exposing them in the public domain. Okay, now finally your image is built. Please remember the image name. Your CentOS Apache is the image which actually runs, which actually we want, and this image is ready. Now let us quickly run it. My Apache, CentOS Apache, and what I would be doing, I would be doing a port mapping of this container port 80 to my host port 80. Okay, just hang on some time, or else what we'll do, -itd So my Apache web server is up and running from the past 3 seconds, and you please see the port mapping that we did. Any connections coming from anywhere connecting onto the host port 80 will be routed to this container port 80. So that is the meaning of it. And if you see, you have this IP address of the container. I'm using elinks to emulate that web browser on my session. 172.17.0.3 port 80. Okay, so I was able to get my web page, the first web page. Okay, store it, finish it. Now that is a container IP. Because I have exposed that port, now if someone is trying to connect to the host on port 80, they will also get that code. Okay, so this is how you expose your Docker containers to a public network. Okay, so they can connect to the host, the hosting server IP address along with the port. They can connect and they can actually be routed to that particular container. So that is how your uh, port mappings work in real time. And on a broader area, this is where you will be learning. So we'll be going deep, and a lot of stuff is there. If you look into my builds, there are at least 7 builds, and we are going to talk about a lot of these directives and understand the differences among them. And total 14 directives we have in Docker container, and so far in the 7 builds we have covered this. I'm yet to write 3 more builds for these particular other directives. So we will be using all these directives to enhance our knowledge on how we can build our customized image. You can actually bring your application and also the OS as a single entity and create your own application Docker images. Okay, so this is how we will learn. We can also be allocating hardware resources, 1 CPU or 2 CPUs, and yeah, allocate 2 GB of RAM or 4 GB of RAM to these containers. So we'll see all of those things happening in our class. And with this, we finish our Docker demo for today. And on a higher layer, I will be not touching about deep into Docker Kubernetes because it's a little complex topic, and we need a lot of hands-on exposure on Docker before we go to the Docker Kubernetes. Docker Kubernetes, yeah. But overall I will show you something like that. So far we have learned about uh, how to run standalone Docker containers, but how about the clustering part? How about the high availability? How about rolling updates? So your application is running. How do you patch your application or upgrade your applications? Okay, without involving any downtime. That is possible with Docker Kubernetes, and that's what we are going to learn in Docker Kubernetes. Okay, and let me connect to my master server. So I'm trying to get the IP address 192.168.7. Okay, I hope all the nodes are up and running. Yeah, you explore a lot about kubectl, and kubectl is a controller command, or it it is a command utility that is used to control your cluster. To be simple, to say in one word, and right now in my cluster I have 3 nodes, and many people will start comparing this with VMware, but Kubernetes is actually much more powerful than what a VMware infrastructure can give you. I will not go deep right now because it will take time, and to explain the methodologies that you use to deploy containers, deploy pods, create deployments, create services. It's a big topic, but we have to be really choosy. Right now we have 3 minions. It's 3 node cluster, and we have a 4th node that is running as our master. And we have services called discovery services, and here we use etc HCD. HCD is a service that would be used to discover all the Docker services that runs on all these minions. So basically minions are nothing but the individual physical servers. So we are emulating physical server, and we are given the names as minion 1, minion 2, minion 3. These are the names which Google has given because the product Kubernetes is basically released or developed by Google, and they made it open source. There 2015, and the stable version released on 2016 October. Okay, so don't think that it is there from ages. It is hardly, I would say the stable version is hardly 3 months old as we speak. It's just 3 months old. It's in the market. It's released in 3 months. Maybe some people wouldn't have even looked into the software. Okay, so this is we will be talking a lot more about Docker Kubernetes, different methodologies, how we can maintain our container environment, how fast you can deploy our container environment, and what happens if a node crashes, what are the methodologies that are available. And there is a beautiful GUI application that you can install on your master, and you can do all these deployments by just with your mouse. So we're going to see that also, installing also the GUI. And I'm going to hold this till here. I'm not going to go further because we have to cover one more topic and then give enough time for the question and answers. I don't want to waste entire time on this. So let me see if my Jenkins application is ready. So I'm just powering off my Docker Kubernetes infrastructure, and I will. So having covering all these topics, so you will feel a little bored if I still show you a lot of command lines. So to cheer you up, I am starting my Jenkins server, and to be honest, it's fully GUI. There is very less work on with the command line, but we will see. What is Jenkins? I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but let me see if I have anything on my keynotes. We already, yeah, Jenkins. Good, we're right in the picture. What is Jenkins? Many people would know it's a build tool by that name, but Jenkins can also do deployments. So what Puppet can do, Jenkins can do part of it. Because it cannot do the remaining part, that's why Puppet is preferably used to do the deployments, but Jenkins is also capable of doing deployment. But with the advancements in the cloud, Jenkins is now getting integrated with your cloud infrastructure. It is getting integrated with your development environment like GitHub, your Eclipse, all those environments, and it is dynamically pulling the code, launching cloud instances, deploying the application in it, run the test code, give the test results. So a lot of advancements are happening, but to be honest, you should be very strong on the basics of Jenkins. So you can refer, or you can refer anything, any other source, and then you can scale up on that. So Jenkins, it's a continuous integration tool. Basically, it does the job of pulling your software code that you are written in any of the languages and build a deployable software which would be in jar or MSI or an exe. So that is a deployable code, right? So whenever you want to install an application on your Windows laptop, you get an exe. You will not get the source code. Source code is different. They use the source code to build a package. So this build is actually done by Jenkins. Now, there are a lot of tools in the market which does the role of what Jenkins can do. And IBM has its own product, and Oracle has its own product. and we're not going to look into that, but we will see in the class what are the competitors and mainly, and we'll straightly go into working with Jenkins. Okay, and I believe my system is ready. Let me connect to my system. Okay, so 192.168.1.6. Copy this IP. Like I said, we are going to use a browser. Jenkins runs on port 8080, so you have to give the port number, and you should be getting this screen. I have created already my account. I hope it allows me to log in. Yeah, it worked out. So sample. This is a default view of your Jenkins application. You will, on the left hand side, if you see the picture I'll draw, this is your control panel. You can do a lot of beautiful stuff using this control panel, and this picture is your environment where your Jenkins does its job. Master is where your Jenkins is installed, and remote slaves are the place where the build actually happens. Okay, your code will be pulled into these servers and the build will be taken. The build will be done on these servers, and you can tell how many kind of executions that can happen parallelly on your remote slaves, that your Jenkins can manage it right now. And another beauty of this tool is its rich set of available plugins, managed plugins, and you can see lot of tons and tons of plugins are available. You can integrate with many of the applications. You name an application. Okay, I can search if there are any plugins available for talking to Puppet. Okay, and you can just install them. If I install it, actually asks for rebooting and then all that stuff, so I cannot do that now, but you can do that later. If you want to work with on AWS cloud layer, a lot of plugins are there. Allows Jenkins to start slaves on EC2 on demand and kill them as they get unused. So using these plugins, you can actually try to start EC2 instances, start it, push the code into that EC2 instance, build it, test it, generate the reports, and then kill the EC2 instance or terminate it. So all these wonderful jobs, you can do it by installing, making use of these plugins available to you ready-made. Or once a build is finished, you can also use this S3. There is a plugin. If I'm not sure whether this is a plugin or not, there is a plugin, a rather specific use case, Jenkins plugin that will look up at AWS S3 hosted YAM or APT repository and clean any information you from the Jenkins parameter drop-down. Okay, there is an application. There is a S3 plugin that actually, once you build completes, you can push this code into an S3 repository. You don't need a build. You don't need a S3 plugin. You can use a curl command also to send a build code into a repository which is hosted on an S3 service. So this also will be looked up. We will see that, and as I said, we will specifically focus our interest on learning Maven build tool, which we will be using to build a sample Java code and then store it in a particular artifact repository as a jar file and let people to use and download it. Okay, so that is what we are going to show you, and this needs a lot of careful planning in terms of setting up the environment it doesn't look, it is not that easy. It takes a little bit of time to set up this environment in Jenkins. Remaining all can be done very fast from the command line, because this is a GUI application. You need to carefully understand each concept and play around with. And right now I have created 3 jobs. They are in red color because they have failed, because the dependencies have been removed. Remove the dependencies. You can take a glimpse at these jobs. So I have clicked the first job and say configure. You will see how the job definition looks like. You can give a project name, description, source code management. You can integrate with the Git repository, give the credentials, and you can also define what branch you want to pull. Okay. If you have subversion, you can do that. Build triggers, that means how frequently you want to build, initiate a build. Is it you want to poll? That means it will poll every now and then with the repository, and then get the, if there is any new commit, it will get the code. If it is periodically, then it will follow this cycle. That means every hour it will poll. Okay. And build environment. This is very important. Add timestamps in the console output, that is okay, but important is this. Build step is you can invoke ant or Gradle script, or we haven't seen or also Maven targets. So using these, so ant is a different build tool, Gradle is a different build tool and mechanism, and Maven is a different build tool. Okay, so you can invoke any of these. Okay, and you can give goals that what you need to do with the build, and again give a post build action. Post build action, you can configure an email notification. If not, you can archive the artifacts, files to archive. Okay, that means you have to stage the output, the build outcome, into a particular archive location, or you can push that build into Git repository. That also you can do. Okay, and basically these are the primary post build actions that we normally do. My application has, let me come out of it. My mouse is a little bit sensitive, so it sometimes takes a wrong expression to zoom the web page. Okay, so this is a view. Okay, so this is all we will be looking into it, and we will also see how to chain 2 different jobs. Suppose the first job succeeds, then only you trigger the second job run. All those aspects we will be looking into this picture, and we will cover. That should give you some idea about how to start your journey and understand Jenkins. And we'll also talk about the security mechanism. Okay, how to maintain security aspect of your Jenkins application. And we will also talk about how do we add your slave nodes, remove them, put them into maintenance mode, that part. And also we will also be looking into managing your plugins that I have already shared, taking backups. This is very important in case of any kind of wrongdoings. Your backups are the ones which are going to save you. So we are going to look up at your backup manager and also thin backup. And yeah, so that's all. I think with that we will finish our Jenkins application, Jenkins part of our training program, and we'll wind up. Okay, and if you see my Jenkins, we have Maven installed on our server. Okay, so this is the Maven version that is present on our system, and this will be used to do builds on the slave node. This is a slave node. Okay, OL4 is a slave node, and Jenkins is the Jenkins master. So with this, I will end my demonstration, and I will take your questions and answer them, right? And if you have any questions, you can post all your questions. Okay. Okay. What is main in market now? Between Puppet or Chef, Puppet is really above Chef. Puppet and Ansible are equally doing good. What is Jenkins used for? Okay, could you elaborate, please? Shobet, Jenkins is primarily used to do builds, software builds. You have a software code, take it, compile, and build it as a deployable code. Okay. And we have a question, which one will you use, Puppet Enterprise or Puppet Open Source? We use Puppet Enterprise because Puppet supports Puppet Enterprise, and if you look for Puppet Open Source, you don't get support. Puppet has a very robust support compared with Ansible. OpenStack is nowhere connected with what we have done today. Okay, OpenStack is a cloud management software which is okay, which usage is shrinking, to be honest with you. As AWS is growing, as Azure, Google Cloud is coming, OpenStack is really not able to compete with those providers in terms of providing a number of services that they are giving. Okay, what is Factor? I really don't know what is Factor. Will it be installed with Puppet installation? It is Factor, yes, I think, yeah. Factor will be installed with Puppet installation. Difference between Puppet group and classes. There is a Puppet. I think you should have asked difference between Puppet module and class, because that is a common question. Puppet module and classes, yes. Technically, in a module there can be multiple classes. Okay, so that is the first definition, which you can take it as for difference. Recording for this session, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think this session is getting recorded. So interested people, I think you will all be getting the recording. And how to install? Okay. Okay, all the softwares for doing this entire training program, I will take care of that, and I will be sharing the softwares and also helping you to set up the lab environment. So we have a question from HTML5 viewer user that you're not able to hear, but the thing is, I'm seeing a very good audio quality on my screen on my GoToMeeting application. So probably it can be from your side also. In case then that would not give you a better audio. What is binaries and libraries in a Docker? Okay, so this is not a question that we should explore now, because we should get proper picture of Docker. Then only you will understand the difference between a binary and a library. Okay, binary is executable, but libraries are not executable. Libraries support particular binary to execute. Okay, so technically that is a definition. Can you please show the commands used in Puppet and Git once again? From Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna, you will get the recording anyway. You can go through that recording. If you have any specific requirements, you can talk to Priyanka. She will be reaching out to you guys. I recently purchased the RHSCA certification. Now I will perform RHCA exam, please. How is that? I don't know how is that relevant to this topic. Can I install core Hadoop on Docker? If a Docker application is there, then you can definitely install, or if you are interested. I'm not sure about Hadoop because I really never worked with Hadoop, but technically it is possible, but we should look into licensing and other ways of getting the software. If it is possible, then it is definitely possible with the training that we are providing. You can definitely create a Docker image for your Hadoop application. How could Jenkins is used for report generations and snapshot? Report generations, I really don't think people use Jenkins for report generations. You can use orchestration tools to generate reports. Jenkins can be integrated with PostgreSQL. See, actually, Jenkins, you should understand the story. It's basically a build tool, and you can actually involve the database and the applications, everything built together and provide it as a single package. That is where your Jenkins will run. Jenkins will work. GitHub, yes, we will cover GitHub on our training program, but unfortunately we don't do that GitHub now because keeping the timing in factor. Okay, we wanted to cover the higher layer topics and then give time to the questions, and that is why we didn't cover GitHub. But in the proper training, we will be covering deep on GitHub also. Many of you have asked for the recording. You will get that. What about SolStack? SolStack has entered in the market. Its name is hearing, but it is not that widely used or widely adopted in large scale environments. Jenkins, how Jenkins is different from Maven or Ant build. Jenkins uses Maven build, it can use Ant build, it can use a Gradle build by using Groovy scripts. So Maven or Ant comes as part of the build process in Jenkins. So Jenkins is capable of not only doing builds, it is capable of doing, linking your job with one job with another, integrating with your various applications like your Puppet application or with AWS infrastructure and all those things. So that Jenkins work at a higher layer, and in that layer Maven and build is also part of it. Okay, Maven and Ant. Do we have training on Python? Yes, I do teach Python programming also, and if you are interested, you can please reach out to Priyanka. What is the difference between Puppet and Docker? Puppet is a configuration management tool and Docker is a microservice virtualization software. So that is the question. It's both are two different domains in terms of technology. What is Maven, Ant and DevOps? Maven and Ant are build tools which you can use to build applications, and that can be readily used for deployments. Both are two different build tools, and using Jenkins you can use both Maven and also Ant. If Docker is better than VirtualBox, then why people use more Docker? I think the question should be why Docker is better than VMware. We are not comparing Docker with VirtualBox because VirtualBox is, you have a desktop application, but Docker is like people are using already in production. Okay. So to answer that question, I'm saying that why people are not using more Docker. So to answer that, it is very recent addition to the market, and not many people are trained or having enough experience on working with Docker. But traditionally, if I am looking into the market expectations, Docker is definitely going to be a top trending technology. Right now, it is already a trending technology in DevOps field, and if you really want to scale up, then Docker along with Docker Kubernetes is a wonderful combination. Major difference between Docker and Kubernetes, it's a question from Sheikh. Sheikh, Docker is a platform and Kubernetes is a orchestration tool or a clustering tool. It uses Docker to manage multiple container deployments in a second, and it also can take care of updating them, taking them into maintenance without giving any downtime for the application. So Kubernetes works at a different picture, and Docker is at a different layer. Okay, how exactly needed to build customized Docker? Okay, so there's a question from Suresh about customized Docker. I'm assuming that the question is related to building customized Docker images. Then the answer is yes, we do build customized images. That's how companies are maintaining their applications, are going to maintain, because you create your application as a readily deployable container and you just launch it. Your application is ready in seconds. Okay. In DevOps, there is only one Puppet programming language. No, in DevOps, we are not talking about one programming language. In DevOps, we spoke about a lot of tools that we are going to talk, or what we're going to train in our training agenda. But programming aspects wise, it's different. We don't need any programming background here, but once you learn all these skill sets, do your job, then you might need some experience here and there to work on coding part, which might be a Python program or a Ruby program. How do you integrate Jenkins with Puppet and Docker? By using the plugins. I just showed you that. Docker is now available on Windows Server, so Windows image could also be download. Yes, you can use that. It's not only on Windows, it's available on Mac also, and you can do it on Mac as well. Okay, and there is a question from build customized Docker. Is it on ML files? Yes, it is on through ML files and also through Docker files. So we'll cover that on that picture later. Okay. Why people use VirtualBox? It's a desktop virtualization, guys. VirtualBox is a kind of your VMware workstation. That's all. You can use it on top of your operating system to launch virtual desktops. Okay. I hope Docker is default in RHEL7. I really don't think so. It's default in Docker in RHEL7. There's a question from Satish Reddy. Docker is not default in RHEL7. It's a different repository that you can download and enable, but going forward Docker will be provided as a default software in all the operating systems. So that is how it will be. What is the difference between Docker file, Docker compose, and Docker swarm? Docker file is used to basically build an image. Docker compose is a tool which you use to write how your containers should be deployed as group in a ML format structure and then deploy them in one shot. And Docker Swarm is a native clustering, which is not that great in the market. You can ignore it. You can focus only on Docker Kubernetes. Can we use Jenkins for logs? I couldn't understand this question from Neeraj. Okay. Difference between Docker and Jenkins. Docker is a microservice and Jenkins is also microservice, but Docker is purely into virtualization and Jenkins is into your software build and deployment. Can we schedule Kubernetes session like this? If you want only a session only on Kubernetes, then you have to talk to the coordinator Priyanka. And do we have training on Python? Yes, I do provide trainings on Python. If you're interested, please give your names to Priyanka. So there's a question from Ramakrishna. Example, I have data warehouse replication in my database. How Jenkins job can be effectively used here? So Jenkins jobs you can use actually is a good question. So Jenkins is capable of not only doing software builds, you can create applications, or you can create jobs that you can schedule it as a cron job, which you can use to initiate some shell level commands or Windows batch jobs. And that can trigger a specific replication or enable a replication or data sync, all these aspects. Okay, so another question, can you download this video? I think you can download this video. Security in Jenkins, we will talk about that in detail, Neeraj. Best tool for orchestration, if you're talking about Docker, it would be Kubernetes. If you're talking about Puppet, it would be mCollective. Is shell scripting knowledge required for DevOps engineer? It would be an asset if you know shell scripting, but that will not stop you if you don't know. But that is definitely something which people will say that you please have some basic shell scripting knowledge. Difference between SysOps and DevOps. DevOps closely, so there's a question, okay, a good question from Edwin, Pradeep. Difference between SysOps and DevOps. SysOps stands for system operations and DevOps stands for a role that is used to maintain the deployment lifecycle of your development code. Okay, system or SysOps is part of your DevOps profile, but DevOps is more than that. Training covers AWS CLI? No, actually, AWS, I can talk about some services, but we do provide AWS training separately in detail by a different trainer, and you will get to know about AWS command line experience, how do you use AWS CLI there. So you can reach out to Priyanka and she will help you there. How to know more about CI/CD? Are you taking any sessions? We will be covering that as part of our training program, Edward. About CI, CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery. So you can talk to Priyanka if you have any more questions on terms of the class. Okay. And I think I've answered all the questions so far. And I think some have raised the hands. I'll unmute them. Mohan. I'm not able to unmute. Okay. Okay. Satish Reddy first. You have raised your question. You have any questions, sir? Satish Reddy?
Can I unmute anyone, sir?
No, madam. I'm able to unmute.
Okay, okay.
Okay. I'll unmute one by one. Whoever has raised their hand so that you can answer. Satish, you have any question? Okay. Shobit Jaiswal. Shobit, you can ask.
So Naveen, thanks for the demo. It was really informative. First thing first, my question is that I am from the Windows and these configuration SCCM, desired state management, these kind of background. So how do you think that the Docker is now would be available in Windows 2016? So how do you think that that will change the deployment process happening, which is going to be done on Windows environment?
See, it really depends on how your organization is planning, to be honest. You can deploy Docker containers on your Windows servers, and you can use Jenkins there to deploy your image builds and then deploy your containers. And you can use Puppet to do that same job. It really depends on your organization, but definitely there is people don't know like much about Docker and the advancements that is available in Docker. It's difficult for companies to adapt to new technologies because it involves a lot of things, including support, reliability, and the life cycle of that particular product. But with a strong backing of Google and a lot of industry strong players, Docker along with Docker Kubernetes is going to play a larger role in the coming future. If you're having any AWS experience, you should know about a service called ECS, Elastic Compute Service. It's basically nothing but your Docker. Okay, and really, Docker is a very good tool, and it provides you a lot of deployments in a very fast way. It's not only for Windows; it's for any operating system. It's on Mac, it's on Linux, or anything. Okay, Shobit.
Yeah.
Okay. I have Suresh Babu Nadinla. Okay, I'm unmuting you.
Hi Naveen, good evening. Actually, I have a question related to Docker.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Naveen, after creating image or container,
okay,
can we export that container to any cloud services like AWS or Azure? And how it will work? It will work like if, for example, if you deploy an application, web application under IaaS or Tomcat, how outside people can access, right? Same way it will work or something different it will be?
It will work the same way. We'll do that again in part of our training program. I will show you the Docker containers and also how Docker is used in AWS. I will show you that.
Okay, no. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Edwin Pradeep, I unmute you. Yeah, Edwin, please. No question.
Yeah, this is Edwin. See, I was into AWS. I've done my solution architect associate certification. Now I'm moving into DevOps, right? So my
Okay.
question is, what is the minimum technical skills required for DevOps?
How many years experience you have?
Relevant is 6+ years. Into AWS is 1 year.
Okay. See, it really depends on the hiring person. So, competitively speaking, it also depends on the company which is hiring you or the company which you are applying for. If you are going into core companies, definitely they would expect you some programming like Python programming. It can be a scripting language also, along with whatever we speak. We categorize, like say, honestly, we categorize this training program by taking programming aside. So I do teach Python programming also, that is aside. And I do teach AWS also, that is aside. What we're going to do DevOps is we're going to talk core about DevOps. And that extra skill sets is what gives you edge when you handle interviews. And it really depends. See, if I'm putting a resume without Python programming and say in DevOps, I said I know AWS, Puppet, and Jenkins, the kind of companies that might call you would be different than if I'm putting Python programming along with Docker, Kubernetes, Docker, Jenkins, and Puppet, and Ansible, and AWS. So the kind of companies that would call such person would be different and with different expectations. You might be taken an interview for an hour and there might be 3 rounds. I might be taken an interview for 7 hours or 8 hours and there might be 9 technical rounds. So it really depends on what companies are calling you and where you are fitting in their requirement. Okay, so it really depends on that. There is no one is going to stop you if you say that I'm part of DevOps and I know how to work on my MySQL database or on MongoDB. No one is going to stop you. But will that match my requirement? It might match some company requirements. They might be interested. They will call you. So it really depends on how you project your resume with the skill set, and it also depends on the number of experience you have, and it also depends on the company which is calling you. Some companies they call you and they will ask only on Jenkins. It's basically a build tool. How many years will you work on build tool? I really don't know. There is no fun in it. You don't get a chance to program it. You don't get a chance to work with a lot of other interesting areas. I really don't know. It's really up to you. Okay, so it's how you where you want to go. First, you decide. It's not how don't my personal opinion, which I follow by myself, is don't take the easy path because a lot of crowd will be there in the easy path. Look for a tough path where less crowd is there and you will be identified easily and you will be unique for the prospective companies to hire you. Okay, so that is my
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Now, number two is, I have a job offer for Jenkins and Python. So what is a minimum to complete the course, minimum time frame to complete Jenkins and Python?
We do Python differently. It's a Python programming itself alone will take 1 month. And again, if you go into advanced Python programming, it will take more than 1 month. Okay, and Jenkins, there is nothing called advanced. It really depends on the environment. Some people integrate Jenkins with their physical servers and cloud also. So I cannot do everything on Jenkins in my lab environment. So there will be some restrictions, but the core foundations will be done. Based on that, it's up to you how to scale based on that knowledge.
Okay. Number three, what is the commercials for this? What is the price?
That you can get from Priyanka. She is a coordinator. So they will be maintaining that part of.
So you mean to say Python and Jenkins, it takes 2 months of the
It really depends on what you would want. You can talk to Priyanka and get your schedule customized accordingly.
Yeah, I will let you know schedules. Okay. I will get back to you everyone. I will call to everyone whoever attended today. So please tell me your requirements, what you want, like DevOps in DevOps, what you want in Python. So let me know the details. So accordingly that I will arrange classes. Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you so much, and everyone has clarified their doubts. So everyone has a good time, I think so today.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I will ping my number. Just a second.
Yep, yep, yep. I'll give one by one. Okay. Shesha.
Yeah, yeah. You got my number. So that is my number. I will be available to that. So you can call me anytime. So I will let you know everything like accordingly the schedule. Okay. Weekend batches, regular classes, whatever is there, I will let you know. And the fee schedule.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a request from Shersha. I just unmuted you, Shersha. I think I unmuted you. Isn't it? One second.
Hi, Navin.
Okay. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. My question is, what is the major difference between automation and orchestration? And you have responded regarding the tools used for the orchestration, but what exactly you do in the orchestration?
Okay.
Puppet is
I'm,
majorly used for installing or deploying the application, and it's a configuration management tool. But as far as the orchestration is concerned, I'm just blank at that. So can you just provide some information on that?
orchestration. Can you mute yourself, please? I think I got your question. Orchestration, if you take literally the word, right? What is an orchestration? If you look for usage of that word, take out the technical usage. Literally, when you say an orchestration, it means that you at a single point of place you can control a large scale of environment, and you can do a lot of other things. You can include automation in using the orchestration tool. Example: you want to deploy a module on a particular group of servers that are present in a subnet. You want to update ntp.conf file on all the servers that are present in a subnet. You can quickly do that using orchestration tool. Okay, so we'll cover that in depth. Automation means whatever manual work that you are trying to do, you automate it in a way that means that you, with a less effort, you can do that change, or you can get that work done by writing some code, or by writing some script, or by writing some module. That is automation. But orchestration is different. It is more than automation. You involve automation in orchestration. You do automation using an orchestration tool. Okay, and that is where your M collective or your Docker Kubernetes will come into picture. They are more than an automation tool. So when you talk about a higher level of automation, that means your orchestration will come, and there are a lot of commercial orchestration tools also in the market. If you talk about patching, there is an IBM Endpoint Manager or HP Blade Collector. A lot of these tools are their orchestration tools. Okay, so you implement automation using those such tools. Okay, I think I answered your question.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks. I have a participant from Mohan. Mohan, you have any question? Okay, Pankaj Sharma. Pankaj, I'm Okay. Srini. Guys, please post in the chat if you have anything to ask. I'll unmute you. Srini, I have unmuted you.
Hi, Navin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, for me, actually, I joined this, training demo because I just want to understand. Actually, there is one task in my organization, like, we are using SaltStack as our configuration management tool and also extensively AWS. Okay, so now I need to build the containerized pipeline for our for our project. Like, whenever the developer push the code to Git repo, and the Jenkins should, get the code and it should create a container and it should push to AWS ECR. Okay, and then from there, using Kubernetes, it should deploy into different environments. So will that be possible? Are you going to cover this scenario in your training?
Okay, it's different because I don't, and I never worked on Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
I understood your requirement, but
Okay.
I cannot promise you because I prepare a structure which I deliver. So that is what, if I want customization, I need some time to get that environment created for my training program. And again, the documentation and supporting documents and the lab setup. So it would be tough for me, but if you can follow the training that we have given and how we can definitely, I can show you how to integrate your AWS or Jenkins with your AWS for doing code deployments. But if you ask me whether I can go and deploy, create an orchestration, Docker Kubernetes orchestration in AWS Cloud, then I need to spend a lot of time, which is not there available right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is the point. But it really depends on how you scale up based on the training that we give.
Okay.
Okay, but I will keep your point in mind, and I'll see if I can find time and see if I can create a lab environment. See, we cannot show that dynamically. We have to prepare a lab
Yes.
and
Yeah.
get the required software ready, get the documentation ready, and then provide that to the
Yeah.
participants to join.
Yeah. Even I'm doing some POC on this, so that would be helpful. If you can help me on this, so I can reach out to you personally, so that it would be helpful for me. Yeah.
Okay.
That is the main agenda for me to join this demo actually. Thanks, Navin. Really, this is very helpful for me as well. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Shobit, Shobit, you already asked the right?
Yeah, I'm done, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Suresh, okay. Suresh?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Naveen?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I have a doubt. Yeah, actually, I'm working the Puppet at a basic level. We have already downloaded some module like XCOM module from Forge, Puppet Forge. I'm trying to install like Puppet Agent -T in the agent system. It's not installing. We need to we need to register the node site.pp into the node, or how it is we need to register.
Yeah, it's through site.pp.
Okay, we need to go to module like master module, and where we need to download it and we need to edit it, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
So everything is okay, fine, sir?
Yeah, fine, madam.
Yeah, everyone are okay. So shall we wind up, sir? So anyone
Yeah, fine,
has
madam.
any
Yeah.
doubts?
Okay, yes, if you have any more to ask, you can reach out to Priyanka. I think she has
Yeah.
already given her number in chat.
It's
You can
already 8:30, 2.5
pick it up.
hours we have given. So
Thank you, madam. Thanks.
yeah. So thank you so much,
Guys,
guys.
for
Thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable class. Thank you so much, guys. So I will let you know exact timings and date and schedule everything. So you can come to the class. Okay. Fine. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Bye. Bye, sir.